NYYST. This is New York, Yankee sports talk. Swinging for the fences, knock it out the park. This is New York, Yankee sports talk. Christian and Chris, of course SGR. This is New York, Yankee sports talk. Homie, New York, Yankee sports talk. Record, rain or shine, grab your shades and umbrellas. NYYST, you're hanging with the fellas.
We're live on NYYNewsTV, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Chris. What's going on, bro?
What's up, bro?
I know I botched the opening.
It's all right, man. It's been a long weekend, long week.
I'm waiting for the Sudafed to kick in.
You got the suits? You got Sudas?
Yeah, going old school.
I hope that you're not in the camera at all this week. It'd be great.
Why?
What do you see on your end?
That I'm fully centered. That's what I
Really?
see. Yes.
Wow. That's rough.
Where would you like me to move it?
Well, no, you're fine. I think as long as I can hear you talk, we're good.
But
You're good there. You're great there.
People want to see us, okay?
They want to see us, okay? Okay.
So before we actually get started, since you prelude to this already, that it was a rough weekend for who exactly, Chris?
For me and your wife, dude. We had to walk over a mile with kids.
Okay.
In the middle of Philadelphia, not the safest, and strollers, inclement weather, and we woke up at 5 a.m.
What inclement weather did you think happened Saturday morning?
It was a little rainy in the beginning.
Okay, it was a little rainy. Okay, all right. Yeah. In your part of Philadelphia, it rained, but not mine.
Correct.
So, for anybody that doesn't know, the Rocky Run was this past Saturday. I competed in it with Chris's wife. So, Meg, thank you very much for doing that with me. It was actually one of the coolest things I ever got to do. To run that route I've seen that movie countless times, and to be able to do that was pretty awesome. So, I got to thank Chris's wife for egging me on and getting me to do that, because it was something that I thought was going to be a bucket list, one and done thing, but we're already making plans to do it next year. So
you guys are 5Kers now. I'm going to join it. I'm joining. I'm setting a goal.
All right.
I intentionally worked out tonight for the first time in 10 years. In 10 years, I intentionally worked out. I'm changing my life. I can't do this fat, somewhat thin, fat lifestyle anymore. I just got to focus. I got to put my head down. You guys were my inspiration.
Okay. Inspiration.
Say, it was pretty cool. I hate to get sappy, but it was pretty cool to watch you guys work towards a goal. I think it's important for the kids.
You're the inspiration. Okay.
You guys worked towards a goal and you fucking killed it, man. And it was just it was a cool experience. I'm not like, I love Rocky, and me and my whole family actually watched it last night. But I'm not into Rocky like you. Like your whole life revolves around Rocky.
Okay.
And it was still awesome. Even if you're not into Rocky at all, just the whole experience was awesome. I definitely recommend it.
Okay. So of course, come back from Philly and now I'm sick. Okay. I got the Philly flu.
You got the Philly flu. I got the T Wade poopy butt. And I can't get past it. I'm trying to make it a whole show.
Well, you disrespected the waiter at the restaurant, so you kind of
did, and I think he poisoned me and your wife. But no, I am proud of you guys. Congrats to you. Congrats to my wife. She worked really fucking hard.
I didn't work as hard.
Well, you were injured, and it's okay. But my wife was dedicated. Listen, a lot of it was for you. She knew how important it was for you. And then in turn, it became a huge thing for her, which was cool.
So now I can never say a cross word about your wife again.
No, you really can't.
I'm kind of fucked in that regard. I have to be nice to her forever now.
Yeah, that kind of sucks for you.
It does. It does kind of suck for me.
It does.
But my goal.
And you know what? Hold on. Hirsch in the chat just said you look like Stallone. I got to tell you something. I'm watching Rocky last night.
Who looks like Stallone?
Look, you know what you got to do? You know how the old school Asia, if you go to Asia, China, whatever, the women, they use the umbrellas in the summer so that they stay pale.
It's called a parasol.
Okay. If you do that, if you stay out of the sun and you get real pale and shave your face clean for the next race, You fucking look just like a young Stallone.
You really are.
You do.
You're on crack. Seriously.
I'll tell you what. I'll post it on our Twitter. So follow us at NYYST _podcast. Right? Is that it?
_podcast. Yes.
Okay. Follow us. I'm gonna do a side by side. I'm gonna alter your face a little so that you're clean shaven, a little bit more pale, and I promise you're dead on.
Okay. This is the first time I've ever.
You are young Stallone.
That's the first time I ever heard that. I've actually heard that I look like Aaron Rodgers before, but never Sylvester Stallone.
I don't see the Rodgers.
I don't see it either.
Okay.
Although he helped out my Giants yesterday, so that was nice.
Yeah, wild.
So, last week of the Keep 'em Dump 'ems, I just want to close out the opening here by saying my whole entire goal of this thing was to finish in under 45 minutes, not thinking that I could be able to do even that, but I finished in under 40, and that was without being able to train for 3 weeks. So, my goal is
awesome.
My goal is to be 100% going into this next year and shaving some time off of that. So there's another 5K coming up in April that I'm looking to do, and then I'll be 40 on, believe it or not, at the turn of the next Rocky run. So I think that might
be your retirement run.
I think that's my retirement run right there.
Okay.
So
okay. Well, good for you.
You better be there, you son of a bitch.
I'll be there, and I'll be in it, and I will beat both you and my wife. You'll be in my fucking in the dust.
You know what? You were saying this to be an asshole, but I'm rooting for you to pull this off.
I'm not kidding. I will finish it under 30 minutes.
Okay,
that will be my goal. I have a whole year to complete that goal, and I need something to stay focused and to get myself into shape, and that I have to go extreme. So that'll be my goal.
Okay, don't die.
Okay.
So, letting this Sudafed kick in here. This way the Philly flu holds off for the next hour so we can get through the show. The last week of the Keep 'em Dump 'ems are here. 10 names on the list. If you listened last week, you know that the big spoiler was that we're doing Hal Steinbrenner, and to kind of just jump right into this thing.
First time doing Hal Steinbrenner.
First time doing Hal. To jump right into this thing, Hal Steinbrenner gave an interview to the Yes Network. Part 1 aired today. Couple things to take out of the interview here is that the most revealing thing, I think, out of the entire interview, they aired about 10 minutes of it, and they'll air the rest on Thursday during the Hot Stove Show. The most revealing thing to me throughout the entire interview is that Hal actually knows who Peraza, Cabrera, and Anthony Volpe are.
They prepped him before the interview.
Oh, so he doesn't actually know who these people are. So. Okay. I guess just a couple of things. I mean, he just said a bunch of nonsense. I mean, I don't know what anybody was really expecting out of it. I still sat there and listened to it because you don't get a lot out of Hal. So I did still want to sit there and listen to it. But, I mean, he said it's their wish. That's what he said in regards to signing Aaron Judge. He wants Aaron Judge to come back. It's going to come down to, I mean, what else is he going to say? He said he's had several positive conversations since the season ended. So we're in a waiting game there. He said regarding Aaron Boone, he said the players respect Aaron Boone and want to win for him. If he didn't feel that way, he'd make a change. He also said that Boone is very prepared and does his homework, and then after Brian Cashman checks Aaron Boone's homework, he gives Aaron Boone a snack pack to enjoy before the game. So I guess the only other thing really to come out of it is that he said that Brian Cashman, he doesn't want to make a change there, but they do not have an agreement. Yeah, bullshit. I mean, you don't have an agreement, but you sent him to give the State of the Union address. You sent him to the GM meetings.
How much worse would it look now at this point? You got to say at this point, how would look worse sending him out there and then not signing him? As bad as signing him is. I mean, you just look like you don't know what the hell you're doing, which if you're a Yankee fan, you don't think he knows what the hell he's doing anyway. But just to the general public, I mean, it's just a bad look overall.
And he said that he didn't want to make excuses, but in the 10 minutes that he was interviewed for, he mentioned that the Yankees were injured going into the postseason about eight times. So
this was the line I took out of the entire interview. I couldn't really get past this line because not only did he say it multiple times, but it's becoming the theme of the New York Yankees. And I don't want to make excuses, but, and that's it. That's what, if you really look back to all the adversity this team has faced in 2022, every bit of adversity has been, we're not making excuses, but, and you know what? More than anything else, more than Cashman coming back, more than Boone being told he's a great manager, more than them not being able to sign Judge, more than anything else, the excuses from this team this year have been absolutely sickening. You see, I could probably get past everything else because we love this team. But when your team starts to represent you in a way that is just goes against so much, like they could sit there and make arguments, right? They can make sound arguments for bringing back Cashman. You know, to the stupid fan, you can say, hey, he's gotten us 28 straight winning seasons. We've been in the playoffs every year, blah, blah, blah. Fine. But to sit there and make excuses just goes above and beyond everything because you can see right through it. And I'm not okay with it.
Okay, you're not okay with it, but you say you have to be, okay? Or you can.
Listen, I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
But we sat here. What was it? The day after the Yankees got eliminated, right?
Yeah.
We recorded that the next day, and we said, you know, how much credit do you give to LeMahieu and Benintendi not being available to the postseason for them crashing and burning the way they did? And we both said that there was some credit to it, right? To it, man, we'll be honest. Of course. Right? We didn't I didn't go as far as saying that they would have won the series, but it would have been a more competitive series had they had Benintendi and LeMahieu. Correct?
Can I counter that for a second?
Yeah,
because I feel like you're getting somewhere with this, and I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you. It would have been more competitive. But here's the thing. I'm so sick of the injuries being the scapegoat.
But, okay.
And I agree it would have been more competitive, but I'll say two things. One, it doesn't mean that they should have gotten swept. This team was way more talented than getting swept by the Houston Astros just because Benintendi and DJ LeMahieu weren't available. The second thing I'll say is Benintendi wasn't here to start the year. This was a guy you picked up. Now, how many years removed are we from the 2017 season when each year we say we have to get better than the Astros? So what you're admitting to me in a certain sense is that if you didn't go out and make those moves, you're still not. See, they should have been prepared going into the season. They should have been prepared going into last season, and then you get the reinforcements to put you over the top. What you're telling me is that your reinforcement that was not available this year, that you didn't even have to start the year, would have made you somewhat better than you performed. But you still weren't close to the talent. You still can't sit here and say to an actual fan who watches every game that that's the reason why you lost.
The point that I was trying to make is that we, as much as we want change and as much as we can sit here and say that even with those two guys, they weren't going to beat Houston, there just would have been a better series. They would have had more of a fighting chance in it. As much as we say that, we know that they're in their brains, they are using that as an excuse. You heard Hal tonight say, well, we weren't just the most dominant team in baseball for a couple of days. We were the most dominant team in baseball for a couple of weeks. And then we'd had
months, he said.
A few months. And then we had catastrophic season-ending injuries hit us.
Right.
So that's the company line. They don't think that they're that far off from being a world championship team. And that's kind of a little bit scary. But also at the same point, a lot of the things that me personally, what I want them to do, I want this roster to kind of, the core 10 guys, I guess you would say, to be the same mostly. I don't want to see big sweeping changes across the board. Like, I want Judge back. I want Benintendi back. I want Rizzo back. Like, okay, so where are you making the changes? To me, you're making the changes as short and third with guys that are already here, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I'll say two things. One, you have to ask yourself as a Yankee fan, let's just assume there were no injuries, okay? And let's just assume the Yankees still get swept. Is Cashman still coming back?
And what leg are they standing on at that point then?
But is he? Is Boone still coming back?
I would lean towards yes, but I would love to hear if the Yankees were 100%. They had King, they had Benintendi, they had LeMahieu, they had everybody. Frankie Montas was pitching like a number 2, and they still lost. I would love to hear the reason why.
Okay, fine, and I'm sure they'd come up with one. And now here's the second point. The second point is there's always going to be injuries, right? A good team, a great team is prepared. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a point where it becomes excessive and it's tough to overcome, but when was the next man up? When did that happen? 2019?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that not the best Yankee team that you've seen in a long time?
Yeah.
The 2017 team was playing with house money. They really weren't supposed to be where they were at.
Yeah, but I mean,
was
like,
that 2019 team not dominant?
It was fun, but I mean, like, people were like, "Oh, Cameron Maybin." Like, okay.
Yeah, but you know what? That team clicked, right? So did this year's team for a while. My point is, what happened to that? What happened to next man up? What happened to, we can overcome anything? We're the New York Yankees. Again, I'm going back to the excuses. And it's like,
I mean, they did to a degree. It kind of they did. I mean, did Oswaldo Cabrera not do a good job?
He was great,
but he fell off the face of the earth in the play. He had one good game in the entire. He had, I think, all his hits came in that one game in Cleveland that they blew in the 9th inning. So I mean, next man up. He did come up. He did an admirable job. He was a lot better than anybody really could have anticipated. But he didn't perform in the postseason. He had a lot of swing and miss in his game. So they did have guys that did try to step up. It just it didn't work out in October. But as we sat here and said, hey, we would have liked to have seen this Yankee team with Benintendi and LeMahieu go at the Astros. But to me, I said they're not good enough to win. They still weren't good enough to win. So if we can say that, the Yankees are going to absolutely use that as an excuse of why they didn't win. So, it is what it is, bro. We're at the point now where we have to realize that change is not happening. Hal thinks that Aaron Boone is a good manager. So I don't know if he's just saying that because he owes the guy money or if he really believes that. But so if there's anything else that you want to get into from the brief time that he spoke today, if not, we can jump.
I'll say this. Overall, I was disgusted by it. I couldn't even get through the whole thing.
But I don't know what were you exactly expecting him to say, though?
Well, here's my thing. Leave out the excuses. If you want to make an argument for what you're going to do moving forward, fine. But leave out the excuses, man. They're not necessary. And the second thing is, he keeps saying the line like it's unacceptable, the result this year. Unacceptable means that you're not going to accept it. And to not accept something means to demand change, to demand something better. And you can say unacceptable all you want, but everything that you're doing is showing us that you're accepting it. So we're not stupid.
Well, that's the problem, is that a lot of they're banking on the Yankee fans that don't pay as close to attention to this as we do. So, all right. Yeah, so Hal, it's unacceptable, but we're going to bring back the same exact people that ran this thing last year.
Exactly. And that's my biggest takeaway.
But other than that, I mean, what do you, he's not going to say anything outlandish.
He doesn't, but that's my thing, dude.
What do you want him to say?
He doesn't have to. Look, this, to me,
all right.
I hate men who can't stand behind what they're doing, who can't stand behind their decisions without making excuses, without gaslighting. Sorry, I know we say that too much.
All right, we say that a lot.
We've gotten that criticism, okay? there's a way to go out there and say, look, I understand the fans are upset. I'm upset. I want to go out there and win a World Series, but right now, regardless of if a majority of the fan base thinks this is wrong, I still have faith in the guys that I'm going to employ. And I think that we are closer than people perceive. And right now, this is the direction I'm sticking in, and I'm going to stand behind that. And if I'm wrong, I'll man up to it. But right now, I need the fans to back me, and hopefully we put out a World Series team. And you know what? Would I be happy with that? I'm not sitting here and saying I'd applaud it, but at least I wouldn't have to walk away and say this guy's a fraud, because that's all I get from his interviews.
Well, let's get started then. Let's do it in reverse order, since, I mean, it doesn't make sense to leave until the end. Keep him or dump him. Hal Steinbrenner. The fans voted 83% to dump Hal Steinbrenner as the owner of the New York Yankees. What do you say?
It's tough for me. I feel like he's handcuffed. And I feel like if there were an outside voice beyond Cashman, if like Hal would go to sleep and Hank would come to him and his dad would come to him in a dream and say, look, you're doing this wrong and you know it. I feel like Hal could be a good owner. And here's why. Even though George was hands-on and we loved all of that, I like the idea of having an owner who has trust in his guys that he employs, baseball guys, to get things done. I like the fact that Hal wants to rely on his GM to put together a big-time team. But what I can't support is that he's doing it, seeing the same results, and refusing to make a change because he's scared of that change. So because of that and nothing else, I can't sit here and say to keep Hal. I got to dump him. I want him gone. I want a guy to come in here who's ready to clean house, who's ready to take risks, who's ready to have a couple losing seasons if we have to, in order to put together a team that we know can win a World Series. And that starts from the top down. I'm dumping him.
See, I don't think Hal necessarily is a bad owner, because I think a lot of fans,
That's exactly what I was saying.
I think a lot of fans just want to compare Hal to his dad. And I don't think that's necessarily a fair comparison, because a lot of people that want to make that comparison, are you exactly like your father?
No.
Okay. So just because Hal inherited the New York Yankees doesn't mean he needs to be exactly like his dad. I have a business degree. I'm not bragging about it, but I do. So to have somebody come in and run the team like a business, I have no problem with that. In fact, I'm perfectly okay with that, because if you look at all the major sports in this country, how many guys that maybe outside, you want to say Steve Cohen, or or maybe the Maras, or somebody like out the Rooneys, there's people that it's a passion for them to own the team.
Right.
But majority of them, it's a business. And if it doesn't make money, they get rid of the business, right?
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of teams that win with businessmen owners that aren't necessarily fans. Like, we'll just say, I know Robert Kraft, he's very in touch with what goes on with the Patriots, but let's just say he didn't know who he's just the owner. He doesn't know who Tom Brady is. He wouldn't know if he walked. But I'm just saying, you could still win like that. The owners might know their biggest star.
Right.
I'm making a grander point here, but so it's okay to be that guy. The problem, and it's not even like we say this all the time. A lot of fans want to scream, "Oh, Hal is cheap." Hal is not. Okay, so Hal wants to keep he wants to keep the luxury tax here, blah blah blah, all these other things that we've heard about him. But in the last 5 years, he sunk over $1 billion into this baseball team. Name 3 other teams that have done that. You can't. Maybe the Dodgers have. The Mets will. The Mets will get there. But who else has sunk this amount of money into a baseball team that Hal Steinbrenner has? The list is short. If there is anybody outside of the Dodgers. The problem is that he doesn't hold anybody accountable. And you hear that in the things that he says. Well, I don't want to make excuses, but here's an excuse. I think Aaron Boone is. He even said it. Aaron Boone's a good manager, but the criticisms of the. He even said this in the interview. Aaron Boone's a good manager, but the criticisms of him are fair. So what? So what is it?
Right.
What is it then? At the end of the day, we want accountability. This is what I said about when that tweet that I put that Pete posted the video and then I tweeted it about Jeter with the way the fans what the Yankee fan wants, right? Wants accountability. That's what he wants, and it comes from the top down. And if Hal doesn't hold the people he employs accountable, how do you expect the people that are underneath them to hold anybody accountable?
True.
So I mean, I understand that if the Yankees were sold, somebody could come in here and be like, okay, $150 million payroll. This thing's going to make money no matter what. I don't need to spend like Hal Steinbrenner spent. So things could be worse. They could always be worse in that regard. You hope that if the day ever came that the Yankees were sold, that it would be somebody that would be in it to the degree of like, okay, you had 4 years, you didn't get it done, goodbye. So at that, I mean, it's hard. It's not as easy as I think a lot of people just want to be like, dump Hal Steinbrenner, the Yankees aren't winning. It's not that easy for me to just come out and say it. But, dude, when is he going to reach his tipping point and say, you guys have to provide greater results than what you're showing me? And I think ultimately, until he does that, it's a dump for me.
Yeah, and you made a lot of great points. And one of the things we've always said on the show is, it's not that Hal doesn't spend the money. It's that he trusts a guy and employs a guy to spend his money that is clearly spending it inefficiently and incorrectly. And Hal has to make one move for me to be okay with him as an owner and to actually embrace him as an owner. And that move was to move on from Brian Cashman. Again, I'm not saying he would have brought in someone who was better than Brian Cashman, but at the very least, the minimal argument to make at this point is Cashman's been here for how long, dude? Sometimes things just go stale. Sometimes you just need change. Is that change always going to be better right away? No. But sometimes things run its course. All the time things run their course. And how many more years are we going to go through the same thing over and over? How many years have we been sitting here saying Cashman has run his course? And he's still here, bro. He's still giving us the same things over and over. And it's like, it's exhausting. Hal Steinbrenner has to make one move, and he's not making it. And until he makes that move,
I mean, he technically doesn't even have to make a move. The guy doesn't have.
He just has to let him walk away.
Wink, wink, wink. He doesn't have a contract.
Yeah, right.
So DB999 says Hal spends plenty, but if he actually gave a damn about getting a ring, he'd fire the useless degenerate GM, and he would have done it a long time ago.
Okay, deal.
All right, next up here, we'll run them backwards of when we actually did them. It's just easier this way this week because why leave Hal to the end of the show? I mean,
why leave him? We opened with him. We do him right away.
All right, so Clay Holmes is up next. 92% of the fans voted to keep Clay Holmes, and I mean, I didn't want to get in the weeds of the bullpen. I felt like we had to put Aroldis Chapman on this list just to fuck him, say fuck you one more time on the way out.
One more fuck you.
On the way out, and I was thinking like, okay, so I wanted 20 names to do 10 and 10, and I was like, all right, so logically, since Holmes was the closer the majority of the year, let's just do him. So I mean, it's an easy keep for me. I mean, I don't know. My only thing is, do I trust him enough to be the closer again next year? That's my only thing. But to get rid of him is kind of silly. He's shown straight up dominance when he was at his peak. I know people want to come out and say, "Oh, Edwin Diaz is the best closer." No, but okay, Edwin Diaz had a phenomenal year. He earned every cent of that contract that he got. But when Clay Holmes was at his peak this year, you could have argued he was having as good, if not better, of a season than Edwin Diaz. He was the best
reliever in baseball.
So it's in him. I think a lot of what he got hurt, and then he's a guy that's going to struggle with mechanics. So I mean, if you trust Matt Blake,
Yeah,
I don't know
here's
why.
the thing. For me, it's a keep, and I think you have to go into this saying, okay, a little bit different circumstances. Our bullpen's not as reinforced as it was. Chapman's going to be way gone. He going into last season, remember, Chapman was your guy. This year, you hope Holmes stays healthy, and you go into it by sitting him down and saying, hey, you're our closer. This offseason, your goal is to prepare yourself to be the closer.
Let me interrupt you. Do you really want him to be the closer? Because
I do.
If Jonathan Loáisiga that we saw at the end of the year into the postseason, if that's Jonathan Loáisiga, how do you argue against that?
Here's how I argue it. Because both of those men have gotten an opportunity, and I understand Loáisiga is still maturing and everything. Both of those men have gotten the opportunity to be the setup man and the closer. And only one of them really has proven to me that he has right now what it takes to be the closer.
And Wandy's got the biggest set of the balls out of any of them.
Yeah, that's a good point too. But for me, I think Holmes has the stuff that you want out of a closer. He's a guy who keeps the ball on the ground. When he's on that fucking, his stuff is some of the nastiest in baseball. I like having J-Lo in 7th, 8th inning role, or even as an fire extinguisher. If you need him in the 6th, I like J-Lo there.
I think ultimately the Yankees want Holmes to be the closer because I think what you just said is on point there, and the fact that I think the Yankees like Loáisiga to come out and put out fires, and I think they also trust him more to be a multi-inning guy than they do Holmes.
Well, here's the thing too with Loáisiga. You have to remember when he finally found it this year, and he proved he was healthy. There was one thing Loáisiga did or didn't do, and that's letting his inherited runners score. And that's not a quality you need out of your closer. That's a quality you need out of a guy who's going to come in the 6th or 7th inning. And not many guys can do that. I don't trust Holmes in that position more than Loáisiga. I trust Holmes in a clean 9th inning way more than I trust him coming in with runners on or in the middle of a tough spot. So I'm sticking with Holmes, going into the season with Holmes as my closer, as good as J-Lo was.
All right. Don Sicario says keep him. When he's healthy, he's one of the nastiest closers in the game. In the entire game, bro.
He's got to get his shit together, and he's got to get that closer mentality going.
All right, so we're going to run the catchers next here. Who do you want to start with?
Give me the easier one.
What's the easier one?
Come on.
The easier keep?
No.
The easier dump?
Yeah.
All right, so then we'll go with Kyle Higashioka. The fans voted 63% to dump Higgy bombs.
Dump. Look, I don't know when. Look, the Yankees have always had the, 2 catchers. Every team has 2 catchers. But I hate this, how much we rely on both catchers now. I need one guy that I know is my starter and one guy who's going to come in when my starter needs some rest. And I'm just done with Kyle Higashioka. I think Kyle Higashioka has done a decent job, but we're hitting territory just like Gardner, where we were like, we love Gardy, right? But it's just time to move on. Same thing with Higashioka for me. Time to move on. He's not a starter, and you're using him like a half starter.
He's not a starter, okay?
He's not a starter, okay? So it's a dump for me. I think Higgy did a good job here, but the Yankees, once again, failed to use him properly. I'm dumping him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say hate. I don't like Kyle Higashioka, okay? I just don't like him, all right?
Yeah,
Look, it's nothing personal against him. I'm just not one of these guys that thinks Kyle Higashioka is a Major League Baseball player. He is okay behind the plate. Oh, okay. I don't know how else to say it. Some of the things that he did really well behind the plate, I think he actually regressed this past season.
Yes, for sure.
In my opinion. And he's always going to be a guy that's going to hit a hot streak, and he's going to hit 7 home runs in 2 weeks. But that's it. That's all. That'll be it.
And you hit it on the head right there. And that's exactly what I mean by the Yankees using him the wrong way. I feel like the Yankees see that out of him, and then they start to play him more. And it's like, instead of just letting him have his moments, they try to jump on that because they don't trust their starting catcher ever. As good as Trevino was, they didn't try. If Higgy got hot towards the end of the year when Trevino was tiring out, they acted like Higgy was a serviceable Major League Baseball player, and he's just not. He's a 4A guy. He's always going to be. And if the Yankees utilized his talent properly, maybe he'd be okay to keep around. But for me, the Yankees do this with so many guys, not just catchers, with relief pitchers. You call it their security blanket. Like, I'm just sick of the Yankees turning to the same guys over and over. And for me, that's why it's a dump.
Yeah, honestly, dude, there's just no reason to keep Kyle Goshoka around. We know what he is. I mean, as a backup catcher, it's okay, but it's just enough. I don't know what else to say on that. We got Eric Barta saying it's hard to have feelings one way or another on the backup catcher, but I feel like it's time to let him go. I voted dump simply for the opportunity to see a new face, and I'm sure we're going to see the $25 million man in IKF back. So can we at least have a new backup catcher?
Yes.
All right. So obviously that's going to lead next into Jose Trevino, who congratulations to him, won the Platinum Glove in the American League. The best defensive player. That means he was the best defensive player in the entire league this past year.
First catcher to ever win it in the American League?
I believe.
First Yankee catcher?
I believe
it's first catcher.
I believe
in
it was
the
just
AL ever.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. I didn't realize. I got to say something before you get into that, because we should talk about that for a second. I didn't realize he was that good defensively. Did you?
I think he does everything well except for throw to second base. I think he's great at it. I just don't think to me, I could be wrong, but the way I saw it, I don't think he's got the strongest throwing arm throwing out runners at second base. I think he's got that pickoff play, that snap throw to first down.
Yeah. But you have to remember something too. A lot of that has to do with the Yankee pitchers and holding runners on. Real quick, our boy Rod just sent us a super chat. Thanks, Rod. He said Yankees need to stop platooning the positions of importance. Shortstop, center field, etc. Yeah, I agree.
So 97% keep on Jose Trevino. I mean, I think that was one of the more obvious ones, but it's an obvious keep for me, but a dump as the starting catcher.
Yeah, it's so weird. Before the whole Platinum Glove stuff came out and I really started looking at how good he was defensively, I actually voted dump, and not because he wasn't good. But again, I want a more solid starting catcher back there. I'm not saying that Trevino wasn't amazing for this team, but he tired out at the end. Why? Because he's not conditioned to be a starting catcher. And the Yankees, Rod just kind of touched on this with the positions of importance. There's certain staples. When you go back to the dynasties Yankees and everything, there's certain positions that you just knew who your guy was. Right. And Trevino, for me, I'm sorry, as much as I love him, he's just not the guy that I see behind the plate, leading a championship team. I could be completely wrong, and I could be way off base, and this take could be fucking ice cold, but I'm at least going to stick my neck out there and say it. He's just not that guy for me, as much as I love him. Keep him. But you're right. As a starting catcher, for me, I need something a little bit better, a little more reassuring.
I know all the Cashman supporters want to be like, oh, look, Brian Cashman got Jose Trevino. He only won the Platinum Glove. But, I mean, we say this all the time. Brian Cashman gets absolutely no credit for Jose, no credit for Jose Trevino. It was a complete panic move to get him because in the most disastrous trade of his career, he actually traded for a catcher, believe it or not.
Yep.
So I love Jose Trevino, man, but I don't know. If the Yankees got a more solidified starting catcher and he was the backup,
There you go. That's a nice formula.
I would be more okay with that.
And another reason why I like keeping him, I just love his energy. I love his presence. I think he's a guy who's really intense and wants to win and puts the team first. And I think he's a great guy to keep around in that sense.
So just AC says, I'd keep him if he never got another hit. Catcher is the only position I'd ever say that about. I mean, to a degree, I agree with that. I want defense first, I guess, at catcher, and his offense was sufficient enough, but I just feel like he's not going to be a guy that you can rely on to be the starting catcher for the next 3-4 years. That he's better suited in the backup role. And I want him to be the Yankee backup catcher. If he was making, say 50, 60 starts a year, if he was Cole's personal catcher and he got, 30 other games or whatever, I'd be okay with that. I think he has a role there, and I think he'd be more effective in that role. But I think the Yankees are going to go into the season with him as the starter.
I can't disagree with you there.
All right, so next up here is Anthony Rizzo, who is a free agent after he exercised his opt-out last week, and a little bit of news came out before we started recording that apparently, according to Ken Rosenthal, is that the Houston Astros have targeted Rizzo as their top choice to be their next first baseman. So before we actually get into the poll here, the Yankees have to get into a bidding war for Anthony Rizzo if it's between them and Houston. First of all, you need to get some sort of victory over the Houston Astros. I know this doesn't make up for losing to them 3 times in the ALCS, but you have to defeat them in something. And losing a guy that fits your team perfectly to the team you can't beat is not something I can personally live with, okay?
Yeah, it goes beyond that too. I mean, name the one guy out of anyone game after game who came through big for the Yankees. Name the one guy this postseason.
Right. It was Rizzo. Rizzo and Bader were probably their 2 best offensive weapons.
And look, I'll eat crow here. We both kind of ripped. We didn't rip getting Rizzo back. We ripped the fact that he wasn't the best option. Freeman was the guy on the table that everyone wanted. And then in a panic move, when the Yankees felt like they were going to lose both him and Rizzo because Freeman wasn't making up his mind, they went right to Rizzo. And they signed him last minute. And you know what? At the end of the day, if I have to give Cashman credit for it, fine. I don't feel like Rizzo was his first choice, and I feel like he just lost on Freeman. But Rizzo is a Yankee.
No, I believe. To me personally, I think Rizzo was their first choice.
Then why didn't they sign him right away?
Because they're why?
Why didn't they sign him until 2 minutes after it came out that Freeman wasn't going to make up his mind and the Cubs were backing on Rizzo? Why?
Why did the Yankees do anything? Why did the Yankees
put the timeline together?
Why did the Yankees do anything? Nothing they do makes sense.
Rizzo has to stay healthy. He has to stay healthy. You got to figure out a way. If that means giving him some time as DH and playing Stanton out there more and putting DJ at first, fine. But Rizzo has to stay healthy. He was our biggest clutch bat. And he's a New York Yankee. He has to retire as a New York Yankee, in my opinion.
I don't know about that.
I do. I really feel that way. I don't think he belongs anywhere else but in New York, and it's a keep for me for sure.
I mean, I give him 3 years, but I don't know if he needs to retire here.
I don't think he's going to play much more than that. I think it's his back, right?
Yeah.
You've had back issues now. They really linger, man. They don't go away.
Okay.
I don't think Rizzo thinks he has that much longer. I really don't. And I think if you have to give him a 3-year deal, you give him a 3-year deal, and that's it.
I mean, it's an easy keep for me to. Let's go back here. The fans voted overwhelmingly to keep Rizzo.
I think it's 93%.
Yeah, let me just bring it up here. Yeah, it's 93% to keep Rizzo. My whole problem with the Yankees signing him last year was that the deal didn't make any sense. It was essentially a 1-year deal because he opted out. You have no backup plan for first base. They should have locked him up last year. It's the way we didn't have to play this game again this season.
Right.
Did the Yankees want Freddie Freeman? Yeah, I believe the Yankees wanted Freddie Freeman, but I also truly believe that overall this was like the guy they were I don't know if you want to use the word hopeful for, or they were more targeted
more
on
realistic, maybe
because he was the cheapest option. Like we all know, that's the reason why Anthony Rizzo was here. The Yankees could have chased Freddie Freeman if they wanted to.
I think what it came down to was Rizzo on their whiteboard. Rizzo's their most realistic option. He's a great option, a great realistic option. They were going to pursue Freeman until it got too late. And then when it got to a point, and I think it was a good move by Cashman, actually, because I think he would have lost both if he didn't pull the trigger on one. And I think it got to a point where he said, if I wait too long, I'm going to lose Freeman because he's not going to make up his mind. And then I'm going to lose Rizzo. So he went and he pulled the trigger on the realistic good option in Rizzo.
You know, the Yankees could have traded for Matt Olson too. They chose not to because it would have cost.
There you go again. I mean,
they didn't want to give up the prospects, and then you saw how much money Atlanta turned around and gave him, so they didn't want to do that. So we know why Rizzo's here, and I said it last offseason. Like I didn't want to talk shit about Rizzo because I loved him, but we know why Rizzo's here. Now he fits this team like a glove. He's a gamer. He's a guy that's got an approach up there. You know, he's going to be what I think they said today. I was watching the Hot Stove show that said that he was one of the top 2 or 3 players that was affected the most by the shift this year. So with no shift, he could add potentially another 30, 40 points on his batting average.
Which makes him pretty deadly. And look, at the end of the day, I'm more than okay with Cashman passing on Olson because he didn't want to give up the prospects. If you're going to bring back Rizzo and you're going to play those fucking prospects that you wouldn't give up. And if you do those two things, then I'll keep my mouth shut about first base.
But it has to be Rizzo. Like I don't want
it has to be Rizzo.
DJ LeMahieu can't be the fucking first baseman next year.
No, it has to be Rizzo. He's your guy. He's the guy. I just talked about closing your eyes and envisioning this team winning a World Series and you not really being able to do it with Trevino as your guy behind home plate. When you close your eyes and envision it, that last out being made, thrown to first base, Rizzo is the guy catching that ball and jumping up in the air. Rizzo is the guy that will be here if and when this team's going to win their next World Series.
All right, so Kenny Morales says, an obvious keep him. I have a whole new appreciation for first base defense watching him play. The only drawback is he's such a good first baseman, they might want to give IKF another chance.
No, thanks.
Think about it like this, bro. How IKF would have never survived the All-Star break if Luke Voigt was the first baseman.
Oh, my God. He wouldn't have survived 2 months in. Christ.
So next up on the list here, we have Frankie Montas. The fans voted 54% to dump Frankie Montas.
I have to ask a question before we go into this.
Okay.
As it stands right now, refresh my mind. What is the Yankees starting rotation for next year?
It's going to be Cole, Severino, Nestor, Montas, and I guess Herman would be the 5 or Schmidt.
Because JMO's
a free agent.
So for me, let's put aside what happened this year. Frankie Montas, the idea of Frankie Montas has always been attractive to me before this season. And if I have to chalk this season up to injury and to them relying on him as a guy that he just wasn't, because once again, we passed up on the guy we should have gotten in Castillo. I actually like to keep Montas, but not use it. You need to reinforce that rotation. You need to get me someone better behind Cole or Sevy or one of those. Frankie Montas, to me, could be very good, but he's not a 2. He's just not.
Well, that's what he was traded here to be.
Maybe I know exactly, and that's why I think there's such a bad taste in our mouth. Plus the fact that he was injured, but I'm willing to give Frankie Montas another chance and to say he is a good pitcher. I'm going to keep him around for one more year. I'll keep him.
Yeah, no, I vote to dump Frankie Montas. It's just
injury.
No, it's just one of those Cashman stink bombs that I don't want around the team.
Okay.
Cashman passed on Castillo. Okay. Oh, look what the Mariners gave. The Yankees could have matched they could have done it if they wanted to. They didn't want to. Okay. So they went out. They got Frankie Montas. He was hurt. Came here, hurt, stunk, hurt. He pitched 1 inning in the postseason. This guy was brought here to be right behind Garrett Cole in the postseason rotation, and he pitched 1 inning in basically a mop-up role. Yeah. So it's just one of those stinky Brian Cashman moves that I just,
Hirsch made a good point in the chat. He said Cashman will keep Montas just to justify the trade.
Yeah, no kidding.
Can't disagree with that. But I think this could be one that if he does stay healthy, Montas. Here's the thing with Montas: he's way better than what we saw.
We don't know that.
I just don't think he's as good as the Yankees sold him to us.
He pitched in Oakland. Remember that.
Yeah, but he's got some good stuff, man. He really does.
So does Sonny Gray. How'd that work out here?
Not good.
Okay, so let's see here. Okay. Tin Man Justin says team control, not very expensive, and was injured last year. I feel like we have an opportunity with him, and we owe it to ourselves to see if he can rebound. If he does that, it could be very good for the Yankees. Well, yeah, I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to – I mean, he'll pitch like a number 3, I would assume.
Yeah, you'd hope. He really doesn't even need to. If Sevy stays healthy and Nestor's Nestor, he doesn't need to even pitch like a number 3.
It's just one of those things that Cashman does that, like, I just you're asking me these polls are what would you do? I would clean up Cashman's mess, and this is Frankie Montas is part of it.
I can't disagree with that.
All right, next up here is Jameson Taillon. The fans voted 61% to dump Jameson Taillon, and I have to agree with them. I think Jameson Taillon he was all right this year. He had a pretty decent year. But again, like he's a bulldog. He's a tough guy. I get all that. But again, like if you're looking at like you say, like if you're envisioning, like, is this guy a part of a championship team or not? I don't see Jameson Taillon as part of a championship team. Plus, he's another guy that he's got the injury questions, and he's just a very average pitcher. So if you can move on from him, I say you move on from him. So it's a dump for me.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to go back to the Yankees just selling us high on guys that aren't what they're telling us they are. And again, you go ahead.
And again, why was he here? Why did he get traded here?
Right. To be what? A number 2?
Well, more so than that, because he's a double TJ guy, and we know how much Brian Cashman was Tommy John.
So for me, it's like I'm almost indifferent towards Taillon, and I shouldn't be. Taillon was not brought here to be a guy that we should be indifferent towards, and because of that, he's a dump for me. And I'm over the Taillon experiment. I got to move on from him. He's a dump.
Okay. Let's see if we got one here. Okay. Marty Johnson says solid, consistent starter. If he's asked to be a 3 to 5, you're getting a solid starter. He's not a 1 or 2. Yeah, I mean, like, you're not going to have, your rotations are going to be made up of 5 guys that profile as a 1 or 2. But at the end of the day, it's just like you can move on from Jameson Taillon, I think.
Yeah, and like I said, I think this was a good point. Do you agree? You're kind of indifferent towards Taillon right now.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be.
You shouldn't.
He wasn't brought here to be a guy that we're supposed to be indifferent towards.
No, he was brought here to be a guy to make an impact, especially in the postseason. And he just, he didn't. So, I mean, you can move on from that. We got 3 guys left here. DJ LeMahieu's up next. The fans voted 84% to keep DJ LeMahieu.
You start with DJ.
All right. So this is tough for me, but because I love DJ, I wanted him back when he was a free agent. But now I kind of got to say dump DJ LeMahieu.
Really?
I got to say dump DJ LeMahieu. It's tough to say that, but after the last 2 years of being hurt, and we've seen him when he's hurt, he's just not the same guy. He's not an elite hitter when he's hurt. He's not been there for the Yankees when they needed him most. And now Oswaldo Cabrera has kind of stepped up to kind of be that guy. So it's if he wasn't injured, the injuries have really swayed my my vote here. If he wasn't injured the last 2 years, I think it's an easy keep. But because of the injuries and the emergence of Oswaldo Cabrera, it's now a dump for me.
Here's why he's not a dump for me. First, I think if DJ can really focus on getting healthy, he's still got a lot left in the tank for what the Yankees need him for. Second, if they're going to bring back Rizzo, a guy who's burdened with this back injury, you have to assume he's not going to get as much playing time in the field. And there's also a good chance he's hurt. And the Yankees, I don't really trust anyone else over there. DJ, although he's not at the same caliber of defensive first baseman as Rizzo, he's still really good over there. And even when he's injured, DJ is still an elite defensive player. So I don't think he hurts the team bringing him back. I'm not over DJ LeMahieu yet. I need to see him healthy. I need to get him back in that rhythm of going oppo up the middle, being that guy that either sets the table or protects guys. If you're going to bring back Benintendi and bat him lead off, then DJ needs to be that guy protecting guys and bringing runs in. I'm giving DJ another shot here. I hope he stays healthy, and I'm keeping him.
Okay. I think out of all the guys that I vote to dump, he's probably the closest. It's very on the line for me with him, but I don't know, man. He needs to be a 300 hitter. He hasn't been. He needs to be a guy to be at the top of the lineup. He's just not been available. And like you said, he does still provide value being a very versatile and very good defensive player. He won a Gold Glove this year as a utility player. But, I mean, if somebody called me, if I was Brian Cashman and somebody called me on DJ LeMahieu, I'm not hanging up the phone. I'm listening to what they have to say.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So, all right, let's read a comment here. Joey Cabani, keep. He's our best hitter. He's versatile, and he should be the full-time third baseman.
Best hitter when he's healthy. And you know what? If the Yankees actually cared enough to move on from their failed experiment with Donaldson, and you wanted to tell me he was going to be the starting third baseman, I'd take it any day of the week over Donaldson at this point.
I have to read this comment because I want you to make sense of it, okay?
Oh, hey.
This is from A-Rob. Not A-Rod.
Not A-Rod. Burner account.
If the Yankees were a school lunch you brought from home, DJ would be the juice box or bag of chips. They're critical when eating a PB&J, and if not there, it makes things so much more difficult and annoying.
Okay. I kind of like that comment. DJ isn't the piece that's going to get you to satisfaction, which would be the World Series, but he might be a guy that you can't do it without. So, kind of agree with it.
So, do you agree with the fans that voted 96% to dump Aaron Hicks?
No, I think it should be 100% to dump Aaron Hicks. I think it should be 100%. So I agree with the 96%, but the 4% are dead to me. They're truly dead to me. And for the last 10 minutes now, I've been trying to find this tweet I saw of a quote from Brian Cashman. I'm not sure that it was real. It seemed real. About Aaron Hicks being here for 2023 and the fact that the Yankees weren't able to properly utilize his talent in some way. And, it's not verbatim, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah, I saw the tweet.
They weren't able to tap into his potential.
Right. I saw that tweet as well. Again.
Is that real?
I don't know. I haven't seen it anywhere else.
I'm going to stop looking for it, and I'm going to just tell myself that it's not real.
Even if it is real, what do you expect him to say?
Bro, no more of that. There's no more. What do you expect him to say?
He's trying to trade him.
I don't care. I literally don't care.
Well, I do. So if this helps,
what did Cashman say when he was asked if he talked to Judge?
He said no comment.
There you go. That's all I need.
That's all I need. If this helps get him out the door, he can say whatever he wants about him.
I just can't do it. I can't take my GM seriously if he's saying shit like that. I really can't.
Look, if it leads to him being traded, then he could say whatever he wants about him.
Bro, what GM is listening to that? Tell me. Realistically, I get where you're coming from, but what GM is listening to that and going, you know what? He kind of has a point. How many games did Aaron Hicks play last year? How many at-bats did he get? Yeah, the Yankees really botched that one. He's really so much better of a player.
All it takes is one.
You know, did you see when he didn't get to that ball on the line and just stood there pouting? We can turn that into a superstar.
All it takes is one, bro. All it takes is one. Brian Cashman was the first sucker to sign him. Maybe he's looking for another.
Sorry, bro. Let me tell you something. I don't care if they find someone for him. I don't care if I wake up and find out that they sold him, that they traded him for a fucking bag of stale fucking sunflower seeds. If this guy is on the roster in 2023, it will be the most egregious thing I can ever imagine in my life. Because at least if they don't sign Judge, you'll know how they'll justify it. But in no capacity can you sit here and justify Aaron Hicks being on the roster in 2023.
Well, I made this point before, right? To just keep it purely on the baseball field. All you heard was, "Well, if Hicks is healthy, he'll be good. If Hicks is healthy, he'll be good." He was healthy this year. He was terrible.
Terrible.
Gave no effort, pouted, cried, said he could go help another team win. So
get the fuck out!
I'm going to have to chalk it up to the 4% of people that voted to keep him. It has to be one of two things. Slip of the finger, or they're just trolling the poll. I want one legitimate Yankee fan to come here and tell me, give me a logical reason outside of money. Don't saying, oh, they owe him, that's why they have. No, give me one logical reason why he should be on this baseball team next year. I would love to hear it.
It won't happen.
Because even Wash Donaldson, bro, you can come to me and say he played a Gold Glove caliber at third base, and that's why he should be here next year. And I said, you know what? I disagree with him having to be here next year, but you're giving me a legitimate baseball reason why Wash Donaldson should play for the Yankees next year, because I don't think his glove will fall off if he's here next year. He will still play a Gold Glove third base, right?
Don't agree with it. Don't agree with him being here, but at least you're giving me a sound argument.
Give me one legitimate reason why Aaron Hicks should be a Yankee next year. Does he play good defense?
No.
Does he hit for power?
No.
Does he hit for average?
No.
Does he give you an effort?
No. Does he get on base? No.
Well,
no, he doesn't.
Well,
sorry.
I mean, if that's your argument that he's an elite walker, then you could walk off. You could take that long walk off of a short bridge, okay?
Please. Because
that is not worth keeping what is just a malcontent and somebody that when you talk about, when we say this, this is the new thing that when you see the Yankees jumping in that dog pile for the 28th World Series, do you envision Aaron Hicks being in that dog pile?
No.
I certainly don't. I certainly don't. So there's no legitimate reason. None. Why Aaron Hicks should be a Yankee. Because if they could get rid of Jacoby Ellsbury, they could get rid of Aaron Hicks.
100%.
And Mustache Griffey says, this is the easiest dump ever. should have been flushed a long time ago. His production has been declining for years now. He simply doesn't give a fuck anymore, and the fans hate him. He should never step foot on a baseball field again. He's dog shit.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head, pal.
So thank you, Griffey. All right.
Thank you. All right.
And last but certainly not least, okay, Chris's favorite player, certainly. He hates him more than anybody on the team.
Oh my God. What? Because my boy's gone?
Because Jordan Montgomery's gone now. So now Chris, public enemy number one to Chris, is the ace of the New York Yankees. Garrett Cole, 95% of fans voted to keep Garrett Cole. I mean, it's an easy keep, man. Look, nobody was his biggest fan throughout the course of the year than me. Nobody ripped on this guy. Well, maybe more people ripped on him than I did. But also, I feel like I had a little bit more credibility than others because of where it was coming from. Some people just wanted to hate this guy. So when I ripped him, I felt like it was out of a place of love. He was very disappointing this year as a regular season pitcher. Very disappointing. Oftentimes he would implode. Oftentimes he got in his own head. Oftentimes he didn't show up in a game where the Yankees absolutely needed their ace to show up in. And then October hit. And it was like, I'm Garrett Cole. This is what you pay me for. And I know the final line in the ALCS game doesn't look great. But I think, it was just one of those things where circumstances got him. And I know that if you're an ace, sometimes you have to work through those. I personally don't give any fault of what happened in Game 3 to Garrett Cole. I think he was outstanding in the ALDS. This is a guy that now you can trust. Maybe you don't trust him April, May, June. You don't trust him. October, I trust Garrett Cole. And there's no way I'm getting rid of him.
Yeah, so let's go back to that ALCS game because no one has been harder on Garrett Cole when it comes to picking up teammates making errors than me. And in that game, in that moment, after what he did in the ALDS, when you're facing a team like the Astros, who are close to perfect, who you can't make mistakes against, when that ball drops and isn't caught, anything that happens after, in my opinion, in that specific circumstance, is not on Garrett Cole. I thought Garrett Cole was fucking fantastic in October. He gained all my respect back after such a shitty... I don't care what you tell me. It was for Garrett Cole. He'll tell you himself it was a shitty regular season. Here's what I'm going to say. It's a definite keep for me. But there's one thing we have to remember. He's 32 years old now. And Garrett Cole isn't going to have many more years where he can be relied upon as the ace. This team needs to get something right. This team needs to construct itself to be able to go the distance while he's still here as the ace. Because if you allow this window to close on Garrett Cole with the contract you gave him, I don't know where you turn. This year, we say it every year, but again, with each year that they don't win it, the next becomes even more critical. This year is so critical when we're talking about Garrett Cole that they need to do something right. And they need to use this guy while they still can as the ace to lead them all the way through to the end. As the last team fucking standing. I'm keeping Garrett Cole, and I'm going to pray that the Yankees finally build a team around him or utilize their young talent now while he's still here as the ace and not some guy withering away at the end of his contract and end of his career.
Well, you don't know how much he's got left in the tank. I mean, you look at guys like Scherzer and Verlander, brother. Fucking 40, still pitching like aces.
But are you confident in that?
I'm not confident.
Are you confident that with each year that passes, the Yankees aren't going to get further from the goal than they are closer.
Well, it's the Yankees more so than anything else.
Exactly. Well, that's my point. My point is I'm obviously keeping Garrett Cole. But that window is closing to finally put a team together where he can lead them to the promised land.
Okay. So one more from Mustache Griffey here. He says, he needs to consistently be the ace that we desperately need. Yankees will only go as far as he takes us. He had his best postseason performance as a Yankee, and he's just got to build on it.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll say one last thing about Cole. I think that this postseason brought him back to the guy we needed mentally. And I need to see him. The regular season is one thing. If he's going to show up in October, that's all I truly care about, assuming this team's going to make it there. But I think for Garrett Cole personally, he needs to keep building upon the guy that he became again in October this year.
All right. Oh God, the Philly flu is really kicking my ass right now.
Yeah, let's get you to bed.
So I think I held up pretty good here, except for the last few minutes.
No, you did.
Okay, so we want to thank everybody that's been in the chat all night. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter at NYYST_podcast. Follow also wherever you listen to this, 5-star rating and review, and please go to patreon.com/NYYST. We're taking a little break from there until we got something to talk about, but please go there for exclusive shows and content, and that's all I got. So with Thanksgiving next week, we'll see when the next show will be. We might take a little bit of a holiday break. We'll discuss it, and we always play things by ear around the holidays. But thank you so much for your continued support of NYYST and NYY News TV. Thank you for listening and watching episode 307. And Chris, say goodbye.
Peace. Before it hits the front page.